So in this video, I wanted to just follow up on writing of the script. There are a few things in the first video that I think I can expand upon and go into more detail. So what I'm going to do is use one of the stories from the Ashcan Anthology #1 as an example. This story is the last one that appears in the book. It's called Sam and Sarah's Fairy Tale. And again, these stories were written with the idea of submitting them to 2000 AD as future shocks. So they're 4 pages, sci-fi, and with an ironic twist. So the way that I've developed this sort of process for writing for comic books is to write down this outline. First write it in an outline form like this you see on the left. So in this case, I know that I have 4 pages. So I write down the 4 pages that I have and what is supposed to happen in that first page or on each page, so that I understand the page turns, the page beats, and how the story flows. So like this. So if you got 4 pages, the first page is to present the basic premise. The second page goes into like the second act of a screenplay, where you go into see how the story unfolds. The third page is the final act with the reveal, and then the fourth page is the basically like the epilogue. So in the first page, I know what needs to happen. And the other thing is, I also try to keep the panel count on each page to 6 or less, because you can see on this first page I have a lot of dialogue, and it's kind of this is one thing that I had to learn to get used to writing a comic, is how little physical space you have on each page and each panel. Because in the first couple books that I wrote, I had a lot of dialogue, or occasionally I would have a lot of dialogue, and then when I would go to do the lettering, I realized, wow, I don't have enough space to put all of this dialogue. So I had to figure out how to pare it down so that it would all fit. So this is one of the things you got to keep in mind, is how much physical real estate you have for the dialogue, or for captions, or for anything, and to be conscious of that. So when I write down this outline, I got the first page, and I know where it's supposed to end. I know what the last panel should be, how to have this page turn, the story beat, so people will be looking to turn the page. And that would be when this character basically finally reveals or presents his ideas, like, yeah, you can live forever. Okay, so that's the story beat. So then it takes us to the next page. The next page is, now we see how someone has responded to that. We see this woman and her husband going to this company to have this treatment done. And so the page turn here is going to be where we see that this suggestion that something is not quite right. And that's supposed to be when she comes in, and these nurses, and then we see that this nurse is obviously some kind of android or robot. And and the lady, the wife, is obviously a little bit scared of what's going to happen. So the last panel, so I know where the last panel is going to be. So I'm working from the last panel back up to the first panel. And so then we go to the third page. again, I'm working from the last panel back to the first, so I know the page turn, the beat, the last panel on this page is supposed to be the reveal, where we see that the guy from the first page is actually a vampire, and that this whole thing has been a scheme to farm human beings as basically food for the vampires. So again, I'm just, when I write down the outline, I know what's supposed to happen in this page, and I know where we're going to the end of this page, and then you figure out what needs to be in each panel to get to that point from the start to the end. And then, so the final page is the epilogue, where we see the husband before his wife is returned, or like, wait a minute, I thought she was, she was with the vampires, what's she doing back here? And then again, we see, I know that the final panel, the end of the story, the final beat, is supposed to be the reveal that the wife has been replaced by the android or the robot. So again, I'm working from the last panel back up to the first panel. So the way that I do this, and obviously you do this for a full issue, you can do this from a whole series. The way that I do it is, again, from the general to the specific. So I know where I'm starting and where I'm going to end. And then from there, I just figure out the beats, and they're like waypoints on a map. You get from point A to point B to point C to point D to point E. And so this is how I write the script for, or how I start to write a script for a comic book, is that, just write down how many pages you got each page, and then within each page, figure out, usually what I do is I figure out what is the last panel gonna be, what is that story beat supposed to be, and then I work my way back, and then figure out what panels need to get me from the start to the end. And this way, I can write a script pretty fast, because once I figured out this sort of formula, it's kind of easy to imagine what needs to be within each page to get you, to get you from point A to point B, to get these page turns and have these story beats, so that the pacing is hopefully good enough, and people get into it. I think that it works, and I think that I've gotten a good handle on it, how to do this, but obviously that's just my opinion. Anyway, so this was just to go over it, talk a little more specifically about how I write these scripts. So hopefully it was interesting and helpful.